Goodness, it's great to be back with you this year. All right, I have a lot to say, so stay with me. First, I gotta say thank you to Courtney for having me, inviting me back. And thank you for the love. I know you're gonna show me on Facebook, so I really appreciate it. And I hope you spent a minute hitting the mall today or tomorrow. EPA is starting its Earth Week celebration out on the mall. So I'm glad to be here because it's time for me to do a little bit of checking in with Powershift. You see, I was here 2 years ago, and when I came, it was one of my very first stops as head of the EPA. When I started, it was 2009, and I came here, I was a brand new administrator. I was pinching myself. I was learning the ropes. I was full of energy. I was ready to embark on a purposeful path to enforce our nation's environmental laws. I was proud to be able to give voice to the millions of Americans, young and old, rich and poor, of every ethnicity who demand clean air, clean water, and a safe place to live. So I'm here 2 years later. It's a little bit different. New Congress, a different Washington. The Washington Post had a lottery to guess which cabinet member would be called first to a hearing before the new Congress. Good news, I guess, I lost, but I have testified before Congress more than any other Obama administration cabinet member. So nowadays, friends come up to me and they say, "Girl, how you doing? How you doing?" And you know what I say? I say, I'm still pinching myself. I'm still learning the ropes. I'm still full of energy. I'm still ready to embark on a purposeful path to enforce our nation's environmental laws. I'm so proud to be able to give voice to the millions of Americans, young and old, rich and poor, of every ethnicity who demand clean air, clean water, and a clean place to live. That's right, Powershift. I am in no ways tired. I'm full of energy. I feel the power. I feel you. But I want to come back to that in just a few minutes. Let's take a minute to look at a little bit of the road over the last 2 years. We restored science to its rightful place as the backbone of everything the Environmental Protection Administration does. And that includes the science of climate change. We are using that science to take action on climate change. After too many years of delay and obstruction, we put forward an endangerment finding on greenhouse gas pollution. And unlike some presidents, when we sent our endangerment finding to the White House, President Obama opened our email. Building on that, we put in place the nation's first ever standards for greenhouse gases with our Clean Car program. We set the first requirements for greenhouse gas monitoring. We put forward the first emission standards for large sources of carbon pollution. I told you, we're no ways tired. We've taken action to improve water quality with the first, air quality, I'm getting ahead of myself, air quality with the first new SO2 standards in 40 years. We set the first national limits to reduce mercury from cement plants. In 2010 alone, we marked the 40th anniversary of the Clean Air Act. That law is estimated to have saved 160,000 lives and prevented 170,000 trips to the hospital just in 2010 alone. Now, not long ago, we took a step to add to those numbers by setting the first ever national standards for limiting mercury and air toxics from our nation's power plants. Those standards will require American power plants to put in place pollution control technologies to address emissions of mercury and arsenic and chromium and nickel and acid gases. Those are pollutants that are linked to neurological problems, developmental disorders in our children, respiratory illnesses, and other debilitating, costly, and often fatal health challenges. By supporting the common sense goal of reducing air pollution, we can prevent another 17,000 premature deaths, another 11,000 heart attacks. For our youngest Americans, the mercury and air toxic standards will prevent 120,000 cases of childhood asthma symptoms and ensure 11,000 fewer cases of acute bronchitis symptoms each and every year. We are no ways tired. Now, it took 21 years to put those draft standards in place. But if you listen to the lobbyists and the coal-fired power plant industry, you'd think those standards came out of the blue. 21 years in the making, out of the blue. I guess that's Beltway time. But we don't have Beltway time. We need to be on your time. Something else we put in the agenda: the safety of chemicals in our products, our environment, and our bodies. We hear you. We hear the American people voicing concerns about everything from BPA in baby bottles to Chrome-6 in water to phthalates in our products. So we're working to ensure that EPA has the tools that it needs to protect our health and environment. We've been vocal about the need to amend our toxic substances laws. We're not waiting around. We've developed action plans for several widely used chemicals, and we're working on more. What about water? To protect America's waters, the Great Lake Restoration Initiative is setting a new standard for the largest freshwater system on our planet. In the Chesapeake Bay, we are taking historic steps to protect waters that affect the lives and livelihoods of 17 million people. And for my beloved Gulf Coast friends, 1 year after the BP spill that hit our Gulf so hard, the Gulf Coast Ecosystem Restoration Task Force is developing a plan to not only address the effects of the spill, but to take on the ills that have plagued that region for years. All that is happening at the same time that we are collaborating with local communities to revitalize our urban waterways, working with schools and small businesses to lead the world in the next generation of clean water technology, and helping communities put in place green infrastructure. We're no ways tired. Now, one of the things I'm most proud of and focused on is what we've done to expand the conversation on environmental justice. Environmental justice at its root is a recognition that there is unfinished business from the last 40 years, and much of that unfinished business is concentrated in low-income and minority neighborhoods. Their air is not clean, then my air is not clean. If they can't drink their water, you can't drink your water either. We need to listen to these communities. We've revitalized our EJ office. We've issued guidance, and with my friend Nancy Sutley on the President's Council for Environmental Quality, we've had the first interagency work group meeting in the White House in over a decade. The bottom line is this: there are voices that are calling for protecting our health and our environment that were not part of the discussion just 2 years ago, and every day more people join in. They know that EPA serves them, they know what their concerns are, our concerns, and they know we've come together to make sure you get protections that you deserve. These are just a few examples of what we've done in the last 2 years. And no, we're not finished, but we're proud of what we've done. We've demonstrated that which we all know in our hearts, that there is no difference and choice to be made between a healthy economy and a clean and healthy environment. President Obama says that. He knows that, and we've been very happy to prove him right. Think about something like clean cars in this country. President Obama brought together automakers and labor and citizens like you, environmentalists who care deeply about the future of our planet. We worked together to make a rule to limit greenhouse gas pollution from cars. I know you followed the efforts to stop EPA from setting standards for greenhouse gas pollution. And if you aren't following, I need you to follow Powershift. I need you to know that the standards that we set are under the Clean Air Act. I see my fracking friends down here. Thank you very much. It won't be Okay, I let you have yours. Let me have a little bit, just a little bit. I want to finish speaking because I have a couple more important things I really want to make sure we talk about tonight. We did clean cars, but now they're trying to roll back the very act that we used to make cars cleaner in America. And we have more work to do to make cars cleaner, to cut down on their greenhouse gas emissions, to ensure that General Motors, which just planned to create 1,000 new jobs to create hybrid vehicles, or Chrysler, who said they'd hire 1,000 more engineers, to make sure those jobs are protected, to make sure that our fellow Americans continue to have the opportunity that goes along with environmental innovation. President Obama has made clear that he is not going to hand over the health and prosperity of the American people to big polluters. As he said in his State of the Union this year, we will not hesitate to create or enforce common sense safeguards to protect the American people. Those safeguards are why our food is safe to eat, our water is safe to drink, and our air is safe to breathe. He's our last line of defense against people doing everything they can and spending every dollar they can to stop EPA from protecting your health, protecting our planet. But what I want you to understand is that he's the last line of defense. The first line of defense is you. Our first line of defense is you. Young people who are organized, and active, obviously active. The young people who came together this weekend for one of the largest grassroots trainings ever held. The young people who, since the first Earth Day 40 years ago, have always been the leading voices for environmental protection in our nation. When I spoke here 2 years ago, I told you that EPA needs Powershift. That is even more the case today than it was back then. You have all seen the news, and you've seen the pundits. You've heard people using words like defund with respect to EPA and making bold claims about so-called EPA power grabs. You know that this is one of the most embattled times in EPA's history. You know the vast influence of the groups and individuals threatening to roll back EPA's efforts. So you need to know that EPA is counting on Powershift. President Obama is counting on Powershift. Most importantly, millions of Americans and their kids are counting on Powershifts. Because the attacks being aimed at EPA aren't going to be just felt by EPA. When you attack the EPA, the effect will be to the American people. The American people are counting on you to stand up for their health. Pollutants like mercury, smog, and soot are neurotoxins and killers that cause developmental problems, asthma, and heart attacks. The American people are counting on you to stand up for their jobs, because poison in the ground means poison in the economy, and a weak environment means a weak consumer base. An unhealthy air means an unhealthy atmosphere for investments. We know we won't grow our economy by exposing our workers to more pollution. The American people are counting on us to stand up for them and to stand with them. Now, some people will try and tell you the American people think we need to rein in our efforts and do less to safeguard our health. But I know no one votes for less environmental protection. No candidate runs on promises of more pollution in our air and water. And no one was sent to Congress with a mandate to increase health threats to our children. If you want to know what the American people think, talk to the people who are asking them. A Gallup poll on environmental issues showed that at least 75% of Americans have a great deal or a fair amount of concern about pollution in rivers and lakes and drinking water. Earlier this year, USA Today reported that more than 60% of Americans believe the EPA needs to do more to hold polluters accountable and protect the air and water. I hear you. A recent bipartisan poll from the American Lung Association counted 3 out of 4 respondents supporting tougher standards on specific air pollutants, including mercury, smog, and carbon dioxide. Behind every one of those statistics are human stories that show the value Americans place on clean air, clean water, and clean land. Whether it's parents who want the assurance that their child is breathing safe air, or the pipe fitter who knows that better environmental protections will mean job opportunities for him and his community, or the person with a long-awaited dream of retiring to a home on a beautiful stretch of clean water. Those things are part of the American dream that we all share, and it's up to all of us to stand up for them. Now, I started this journey with you 2 years ago, and I'm glad to be back here tonight. We have made progress, but I know as well as anyone that we still have work to do. And have no doubt, the next 2 years are not going to be any easier. Not long ago, I took a trip to Ethiopia. And when I was there, I spoke with people who are working to establish environmental and health protections to try to match the ones we have here in the United States. In one of our discussions, someone asked me, why is it when we talk environmentalism, we always seem to be using words like fight or defend? I answered, it's because the protections we need don't happen by accident. Environmentalism is not a spectator sport. Without an EPA and groups like Powershift standing up, we will lose clean air and clean water. It's because we know they are worth fighting for that we fight. None of what we aspire to do is possible without the support of people who believe in what we do at EPA every single day. So it's up to us to ensure that the fate of our health and our environment and our economy is shaped by the American people and not big polluters. That's what Powershift is all about. So Powershift. I am in no ways tired. I'm no ways scared. I'm no ways dispirited, and I am no ways discouraged. And the only thing that could change my mind is you. If you get tired, if you get discouraged, if you get dispirited, if you lose faith, if you get angry and decide to go home, I have a problem. But more importantly, you will have let the American people down. The young people of this country have always demanded the future. They've made the future. That's what you're about. That's why I'm here. Thank you very much.